Hello there everybody, my name's DJGT and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very well. Today we're going to be talking about why Lucasfilm Games can't or won't make games like LucasArts used to, and why we won't get Star Wars games of that caliber anymore. When we think about the golden era of Star Wars games and media, we're kind of thinking of perhaps like between 1995 and 2010. All of this is all pre-Disney, and as such Disney cannot be blamed for the fault and stutter of the development of the great Star Wars games during the golden era. The first point I should make before I jump into the Star Wars side of things is that industry standards have only increased in that time at a rapid rate since the early 2000s, with the birth of true 3D graphics and building on them to make as realistic or stylized as possible with the technologies and hardware available at the time. With Star Wars games during this era, you think of the Battlefront series, Knights of the Old Republic, Empire at War, and Republic Commando. These games all fit into their own categories and genres that have been stylized and adapted to fit the Star Wars universe, and fit well in both their respective genres and the in-universe lore. A great help to the lore section was the Clone Wars multimedia project that ran for 3 years from 2002 to 2005 that had Lucasfilm helm the production of comics, novels and video games in conjunction with various publishers and in-house game developers. The comics would set up the initial lore of the stories intended to be told, the novels would then broaden out the world building and intrigue to these stories, and the video games would allow you to pass through the world and blow things up. Games like Bounty Hunter, Battlefront and the movie tie-in game of Revenge of the Sith are directly resultant of the multimedia project, and there are definitely games like Bounty Hunter and Republic Commando that wouldn't have even been thought of, let alone being funded to be created if the project wasn't in effect. There was also a considerably great and grand comic book series created during the early to mid 90s that bears talking about, Tales of the Jedi Volume 2. That created and set out the universe of the Old Republic, which without the creation of these comics would have resulted in two of the best Star Wars games never have been created, and the only Star Wars MMORPG not having a proper setting, likely going the way of Star Wars Galaxies that was ironically closed down to make way for Star Wars The Old Republic. Things like these projects of interwoven comics, novels and video games have proven instrumental to the longevity of Star Wars in the dark times between the movies, and a considerable amount of the fanbase still consider these games to be the best Star Wars games out there. But why is that? Nowadays, many of the Star Wars novels that are being written are about vacuous characters that have little to no effect to the larger universe, set in familiar times and at some point having an interaction with someone who is at least loosely connected to the main films. Most of these are in the period between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, which for a lot of fans of Star Wars is not something that greatly interests them due to the movies that occurred directly after these novels and comics are steaming slurry pits of media and don't provide a want for further excavation into the lore. There have been some good games during this era, don't get me wrong, with extremely rocky launches, both Battlefronts. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but what about Jedi Fallen Order? What about Jedi Fallen Order? Okay, what about it? I played that game for over 70 hours, completing every single achievement, and I, for the life of me, can remember 2 whole lines from that game. And I haven't wanted to play it since. Jedi Survivor? Forget about it. Or at least that's what I did after I bloody played it. I don't give half a shit about these uninteresting characters and people with no proper backbone to hold themselves to. The characterization and writing in these games are almost Marvel tier, and I'm simply beyond the point of caring. They even tried drawing people that were perhaps more interested in the lore of the new Star Wars by putting a Jedi that had been in stasis from the time of the High Republic in the game, and then fucking Battlefront 2 does with the, oh no, he's a bad guy, and it's just awful, crappy and uninspired writing, especially when you compare games like KOTOR 2 that was developed in less than a year, and the game is considered to be one of the best RPGs of all time, let alone Star Wars RPGs. I think if anything, this attempt at refinement culture of all of these new Star Wars games, all it's doing is just making sure that we get fewer and fewer stories that we'd actually be interested in playing, and the various gameplay mechanics like the one seen in Republic Commando are just going by the wayside. We're not getting the stories that we want to be playing. Like, yes, of course, I understand there will be some of you that like Jedi Fallen Order, like Jedi Survivor, and might have really liked the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, but for me, and a massive section of the Star Wars community. It's not enough. We want these older games. We want to play as Ty Bazan as part of the Zan Consortium. We want to be playing as Delta 3A as part of the Delta Squad. We want to be reading all of these different various comics that don't have to be read in order to get the larger story, much like you would have to have done in order to get the cloning storyline with Emperor Palpatine. It doesn't make sense. I'd like to thank all of you for staying this far into the video with me, folks. If you are interested, I do have a Discord, and it is linked in the description down below for all of you to talk and discuss the topics of my videos in. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching. I've been DJGT. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and may the Force be with you. Always.